It's time to talk NASCAR again on Prime Sports Network, Prime Sports NASCAR, if you will, here as we preview the Saturday night race at Martinsville. That's right, it's the Blue-Emu Maximum Pain Relief 400 at Martinsville, and it's a Saturday night. So it's another short track, but it's a night race, Eric. So, and it's different from Richmond. So it's a different type of track. Even though they're both short tracks, it's a different kind of track. And to tell you the truth, Martinsville, in a way, is kind of, it's almost like a standalone. There aren't many other tracks like it.
No, New Hampshire would be the closest, but it's still half the size. I mean, just the long straights and the tight corners, that'd probably be the closest. Past that, not much you can take away from Richmond last week and make it into anything for Martinsville. Yeah. So, there's not really much. It's kind of like you said, a standalone, and under the lights, and looks like weather's going to cooperate this year compared to last. So finally got a night race there.
That's always good when the weather cooperates. We haven't had any weather issues so far.
Knock on wood.
Because that could be a pain. We all know that, especially because of the coverage too. The coverage of the rain. That's another story for another day because they do such a lousy job letting us know what's going on. Okay. Taking a look at this week's race, and let's see. The three of us, we've all agreed upon what? Two drivers.
Couple. Yep. We got Truex.
We got the favorite, which is obvious.
Bell. Yep.
We're all trying to make our money back, basically, with Truex. That's all that's about. Because he's 5-1. And by the way, interesting. Even though he was 5-1 last year in this race, remember last week, the drivers, the favorites were all 4-5-1, but they pushed the odds back to 9-10-1 going into the race. But this week, they decided, no, we're going to. I guess this is because we've just seen a short track race with this new car, and Martin Truex Jr. had the best car. So that's why he's, instead of it being, because if this race would have took place last week before the Richmond race, I think we'd see everybody at 9 or 10-1.
Fully agree. Yeah, I think we saw what he did last week. He's won 3 of the last 5 in Martinsville. And I think you kind of see them starting to turn the corner. I mean, Truex has got 4 top 8 finishes in his last 5 weeks. So he's starting to turn the corner. He had top 5 last week. This is arguably his best track coming up. So, I think that all together, you get 5-1.
And it's all headed in the right direction, too. 8th, 7th, and 4th in his last 3 races. So he's the defending champ. He's won 3 of the last 5 races. He didn't win any race at Martinsville in his first 27. So just like Richmond, he didn't have anything for those tracks until lately. And now Martin Truex Jr. is the favorite, as deservedly so. Even though last year, let's keep this in mind, because he had 3 wins in his last 5 while leading 754 combined laps. But last year, with a win, he only led 29 laps in both races. So,
a little different deal, kind of like Hamlin last week.
He
dominated Richmond last year, swept all the stages, finished second in both races. He leads 5 laps Sunday, and he wins the race.
Yeah.
So you never truly know who you're going to get. But, this is definitely Martinsville here. This is definitely his track now. He's turned the corner. So, if he was different, a little bit farther odds, I think we'd maybe gamble a little more.
Put a little bit more.
Win a little more, but 5-1, it's like you'd be foolish not to pick him. So at least get your money back.
Okay, Chase Elliott. Nobody put money on Elliott, and why should we? Because last week he just was non-existent, and it was really one of his worst races of the season last week. Even though he's been pretty good here over his last 10 races, half of those top 5s, a couple of runner-ups, a win in 2020 while leading over 700 laps. He was second last year, I believe, in this race. And then in the other race last year at Martinsville, he led 289 laps, even though he finished 16th. But there's just, and I don't know, maybe this is right now, just for some reason, even though he's tied for the points lead, I think quickly there's something missing with Chase Elliott and this short track because last week was just terrible.
Yeah, and he's great. He said he's good at Martinsville lately, but I mean he's got 1 top 5 all year. He hasn't won an oval since 2020, and he's 7-1. It's like every week he's either the top odds or he's second, and I just don't get it. I think maybe I don't know if Vegas knows how to set these odds yet, because you look at the point standings, and I feel like as here we are in April, and they seem about as irrelevant as they ever seem, because your guys up front aren't typically. I mean, he's got one. Him and Blaney each have one top five, or no, Blaney's got two top fives. He's got one all season, and they're leading the points.
Yeah.
And it's like that. I feel like you're getting their odds are reflecting that, but you're not. That's why it's opening other strategy plays for
Good for us,
because I just don't. Yeah, I just don't trust
No.
him. That's why I think we all punted on him this week.
All right, you and I put money on Blaney this week. Blaney's my biggest payoff. You've actually gone the strategy of just trying to break even this week, as I can see here. But Blaney is now he's driving a Ford, and let's keep in mind we didn't talk too much about the track itself, but just keep in mind as far as track trends, Ford has not won in the last 5 races here. 11 of the last 13 started in the top 10. And if you think about it, in the last 13 races, I believe it is, all of them have started in the top 14. That's the first 7 rows. We haven't had a pole sitter, though, win here since 2013, as weird as that dynamic is. Since 2003, only 2 drivers have started outside the top 20. And it happened in the same year. Kurt Busch and Dale Jr. started 22nd and 23rd, respectively, in 2014. And what I did notice here is that stage results, based on the information that you provided last year, are very important for people who like to live wager on NASCAR. So if you do, you have to do well in the stages, right? In the first or second stage. And if you do well, you're more than likely going to end up being the top contender to win this race.
Yeah, you really want to be in probably this top 5 by the end of the second stage.
So if you're not in the top 5, don't even go for it.
No, really, preferably the top 2, but at least this year, oddly enough, the stage 2 winner has only been the top 5 once, but this track's different. It's a short track.
Can you do the same stage 1?
Yeah, I would say you really want, if you can have a guy that's in the top 5 in stage 2, got your stage points also in stage 1, there's only going to be a select few. Those are the guys you want to live bet on. Plus, you also got to remember, this race is 100 laps shorter than it's been at Martinsville. So it's a 400 lap race instead of 500 lap race. So you don't have as much time to make up for a mistake either. So with the second stage, you only have 220 laps to the finish. That's it this time. So you don't have a lot of time to make up. And I did notice, I went back and looked at it since the stage era began. We can only go by that for this. So 2017, we've had 10 Martinsville races. The leader at lap 400 failed to win the race 5 times. They also won 5 times. So it's pretty split. But 5 of the last 8 overall, though, they also won the race. So I would say the good chance it's not going to change a whole lot compared to lap 400 to lap 500. The guys that are probably up front in lap 400 are the ones that would have been up front 500. It just decreases the window of overcoming a mistake. So
now what about pit strategy compared to what we saw last week? Is it the same thing here?
No, it's not as abrasive. It's a shorter track. You're probably, the only way you're going to see is maybe one of those where somebody gambles on 2 tires or fuel only at the end for the track position. But this is a track position track.
So we're not going to see the type of Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick winning from.
You're not going to see that here. No, this is more, you want to hold your track position. So and if you don't have it, you might have guys try to go off strategy, and their only way of, it's kind of what we talked about on the IndyCar side, is flipping the field with a caution is about the only way you're going to see anything like that. But it's not going to be like last week at all now.
And by the way, live wagering is important, especially if you need to hedge your bet. So I had North Carolina already to win the national championship in college basketball. They were like 50-1 or something like that, 25-1, and going into the Sweet 16. So I put like $4 on them to make $100. So I had Truex sitting pretty. They were one of my picks last week. I noticed Denny Hamlin was off sequence. I didn't trust that and figured, okay, let me hedge my bet a little just in case the off sequence thing comes back to hurt Truex, which of course it always does. So I hedged my bet a little bit with Hamlin, and then I ended up doubling my money. I wish Truex won. I would have made a lot more money, but at least I was able to live bet Hamlin to double my money. So I went from $14 to now $30. Then North Carolina goes up 15 at halftime. So I can go back in to the live college basketball bet, which has Kansas as a 3-1 dog now at halftime. I could take my $30. I could put it on Kansas to win, and I can't lose. Now, either way, I made $100. So that's why it's important to live bet as well as hedge your bets. It's something that is not easy to learn, but it's something that you have to get used to doing. If you do this, if you do enough gambling, even though it should just be for fun, but if you do enough of it, these are the types of strategies that you have to try to take advantage of.
Yeah. You can just pay attention to what the trends and know what before the race. If you feel like they're good, you can get a better number during the race. Yeah.
And that's why I was asking about the stages. That's how important it was, because
that's where it's important to pay attention.
Yes. Because if the stages are telling you something, then that's something that you need to take advantage of. All right, let's get right back to it. Ryan Blaney, Logano, Hamlin, and Kyle are all 9-1. And again, you and I have Blaney. He's got 6 top 10s in his last 9, 5 of those top 5s, 2 of those runner-ups, and he led 157 laps in this race last year. The only thing, again, he's driving a Ford. I'm not too concerned about that. It's a new car.
No.
And look at what happened to Blaney at Richmond last week. He's terrible at Richmond. He had a good race at Richmond. That should help him out here at Martinsville, which he's been much better than at Richmond.
And he's been really good. Yeah, so he's been really good. And you got to look at his quality. He's got 3 straight top for front row starting, or 4 straight, front row starting spots.
Wow.
So he's going to qualify up front. Yeah, 3 poles in his last 4 weeks. So 2 of them on short track. So I like his chances this week, and you get him at 9-1. So yeah, for every reason you just said.
Even though, like I just said, Jimmy Johnson is the last pole sitter to win. That was in 2000. Yep. Actually, the last driver to win from the front row was Jimmy Johnson in 2013.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so that may go against him, but we'll see.
Yeah. Well, maybe Blaney. Well, let's hope maybe he'll finish. He'll start 3rd. Okay, so you and CJ have Kyle Busch. And again, I don't know why you guys are going back to Kyle. I don't understand it, but okay, you guys can do it. I'm staying away. But Kyle does have a couple of wins here. The thing I'm also a little bit concerned with, he has over 1,400 laps led here in 33 races, which is the good thing. The bad thing is he's only led 5 laps in his last 6 combined.
Yeah, he hasn't been vying for wins there as much lately, but he's got 11 top 10s his last 13. You kind of have to be there. He was runner-up last fall. We saw Gibbs kind of turn the corner last week, and it's a shorter track, so their speed deficiency isn't going to be as glaring this week again. So I just feel like this weird trend of new winners or different winners. He's not a new winner, obviously. He'd be one of the guys that can keep it going if Truex doesn't win. I feel like Truex is the favorite, but if something happens like last week, I feel like instead of Denny, it'll be Kyle there to capitalize.
Denny, by the way, is also 9-1, but keep in mind his win last week was his first top 10 of the season, and he won because the pit strategy went his way. He's still 20th in points, which is really weird. He has 5 wins at this place, but he's not won here in his last 13. He did lead though over 279 laps, I believe he led last year combined.
Yeah, and this is a stat. This is why I want to try to away from him. He's got 47 wins in his career. You know how many times he's gone back-to-back weeks of a win? Twice. It's only hasn't happened since 2012, a decade ago. So with his season gone the way it is,
this ain't the way.
He's just going to magically go back-to-back for the first time in a decade. So for 9-1, I punted for Logano this week.
We both took Logano, and Joey's 9-1. Because he has 12 top 10s in his last 16 at Martinsville, 7 of those top 5s, a win in 2018, while leading over 1,000 laps. And he was top 10 at both races last year. So, and Joey, if it wasn't for that bad pit stop issue, he might have been there at the end last week.
Yep. Penske pit stop issues again. Seems like it's been plaguing him.
What, did they change the pit crew from Blaney to Logano?
Must have. 7 top 10s his last 8 Martinsville. He's shown to have a better car. And remember this. He won the Clash. The Clash, not saying you're going to take much over from it, but it's a short track running like Martinsville. So, yeah, for 9-1, I feel that's why I went away from Hamlin and went to Logano instead this week.
Okay, 12-1 drivers. You and CJ both went with William Byron. He has 3 top 5s in his last 5 on the season, but it has been every other. So we'll see if he can get more consistency. He has 4 top 10s in his last 5 at Martinsville. The one was a crash, so that's good news. 3 top 5s and a runner-up out of those 4 top 10s. But he's only led 9 laps at the racetrack. Both top 5s last year. So you guys are going back to Byron because I'm assuming those top 5s are starting to maybe make a difference.
They are. And he was, again, he stole a top 5 last week, but he was third on another short track. He's good at Martinsville lately. You're getting him for 12-1. And 2 of the last 3 weeks, he's led over 100 laps in the race. So, I like those odds a lot better for him. And who would have thought what I told you last year that you're going to get to a race at Martinsville and Byron's got the same odds as Kyle Larson. Larson's finally starting to fall back.
Yes, he is. As well he should.
I just wasn't going to pick Larson. Out of those two, definitely him. And Larson's got 1 top 5 in his last 9 Martinsville starts. That was 5th last year. So he had been better than 5th in his last 9 starts. 10 of his last 14 has seen him finish outside the top 15. He's got 4 finishes of 29th or worse this year. I don't think this is Larson's week either.
Yeah, and the 77 laps he led last year was because he started from the pole.
Exactly. And they didn't even qualify. He just had the pole because the metric. So, yeah, I don't trust him. And you look at his qualifying efforts lately, he was 21st, 13th, and I got it right here, 21st, 13th. He's way down here, 21st.
Yeah.
That's his last 3 qualifying efforts, actual qualifying of the season. So I just don't trust them.
They're going to have to be one of those teams, which, again, you would still have confidence because they're still 3-1 to win the championship in Vegas, that they're going to figure things out. And that's still a very possibility. All right.
This is like those weeks you see where Truex comes up the tracks he's just not good at. This is where Larson's in right now. He's just this little stretch here. You got Talladega at the end of the month. He's probably not a good month for Larson other than Bristol Dirt.
Okay, Bowman. You guys also put money on Bowman, Byron's teammate, at 14-1. 3 top 10s in his last 4 with a win. Won the second race at Martinsville last year. A typical Bowman style, leading 9 laps, doing it late. But he does have 4 top 10s in his last 5, including a runner-up and a win this season. And this is the thing that we talked about with Bowman. Can he show consistency now? That's starting to show, and I'm starting to believe that maybe we're looking at a potential championship contender if he can keep this up.
Yeah, he needs another top 10, and you're getting him for 14-1 right now early. That I feel like if he qualifies well, that number is going to cut in half. He might be 7-1 or 9-1 over the weekend. So at 14-1, he said 4 top 10s last 5 on the season. He's good on this track. He's shown improvement. Yeah, I want to see something out of him. I want to see a top 5 out of him this weekend, really. Let's see if he can get another top 5 is what he needs.
3 drivers are 16-1, and we all agreed on one of those, and that is Bell. And even though he only has 1 top 10 here in 4 races, but he's 6th and 3rd in his last 2, and he's just starting to figure things out again, which is, and look, he's Martin Truex's teammate.
Yep, he's decent at Martinsville too, and you got to look at, again, starting spots, how it changes everything. 4 of his last 5 races, he started in the top 10 on the season. So that 16-1 probably isn't going to stay there for very long once he qualifies. And he qualified well at Martinsville in the past too. So I feel like he's due. He had a good car last weekend. He's had a good car at Atlanta. He crossed the finish line 2nd. I feel like he's due for something. So he's my top sleeper of the week. I feel like he's the one that if anybody – granted, you have longer sleepers, but the legitimate sleeper, I feel like he's the guy at 16-1.
And we've passed on Chastain this week, and why not? Because his hot streak was snapped last week.
Yeah.
So now it's time to go away from him
for
a little bit.
Yep.
And hope that if you're a Chastain guy, which you are, he's on your fantasy team, that he will at least this little and look, it's only 1 week, but it won't go back to where it was last year. Okay.
No.
Which I don't think it will, but.
No, I don't think so. But in this week, to kind of jump ahead, or not ahead, kind of the middle of why the drivers I chose, between the big 3, Gibbs, Penske, Hendrick, they won each of the last 7 Martinsville races, 14 out of the last 15. 8 of the top 10 finishers from the 2020 June race are on them. They took the top 5. They took 5 of the top 6 playoff spots as far as in that race last year. And in the last April, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the fall. And they took 8 of the top 9 finishers from last week in Richmond were the same guys. So I feel like your winner is probably coming from that 3 organization tandem. So
Makes sense.
that's why I went heavy. That's why I went against Chastain. I mean, hell, he was 3rd in both stages last week. It's not like he was off. He just had a bad final stage. But I just didn't trust. That's why if you see my picks, I went heavy on those 3 teams because I feel like your winner is probably somewhere among them.
Okay, and Reddick, CJ and I put money on Reddick, kind of has the same stats like Bell coming in here in only 4 cup races. But Reddick is just one of those, for me, it's just, if there's going to be another driver, you said this last week, and I'm going to keep saying it too, until it doesn't happen, until we get a repeat driver to win this season, especially a new young driver like Reddick. That's why I felt, I'll put a couple of bucks on Reddick this week.
Yeah, and the only reason, again, I didn't go with him or Chastain was for that reason. They weren't part of the big 3 teams. I feel like for Martinsville, it'd be hard for a Childress camp. I feel like they're not quite all the way there on speed. Martinsville, you got to have speed. Short track, but you got to have the speed and the right package. And they've not had it. I just don't know. I don't see him flipping the script yet. So, yeah, that's why I'll stick with the way I went.
And Kevin Harvick, CJ and I put some money on Harvick. He's maybe a pretty good fantasy player because 50% basically of his 41 races have been in the top 10, but he only has 1 win in 41 races, and he has not led a lap in his last 11 at Martinsville. For me, I don't know, I can't speak for CJ, but for me, it was mostly because of just the fact that things are a little bit better for Kevin Harvick nowadays, and he had a good second place finish last week.
Yeah, this is arguably his worst track too. So definitely shied away, even at 20-1. Definitely shied away from him this week, even with the runner-up last week. That probably wise to go elsewhere. For this
by the way, your video's down. There you are.
Oh,
somebody was calling you?
Yep, exactly.
Of course.
I didn't want to mess it up like last time. So
yeah, that's right. Stay away from that. Yeah.
Just let it ride.
Briscoe and Keselowski are 25-1. You and I put a couple of bucks on Keselowski. He's got 3 straight top 15s coming into this race. And don't forget, he led 446 laps in the 2019 race win, but he only has 8 laps since over his last 5. But he does have 10 top 5s in his last 12 at this racetrack. So why not? He's 25-1.
Yeah, I mean, for those odds. And he's, again, the deficiency for speed is a lot less here. Magnified here. He looked decent at Richmond. Wasn't great, wasn't bad. So if some chaos happens and he happens to be there and he can use his bumper, he will. Then for 25-1, yeah. I mean, Keselowski's usually pretty good at Martinsville anyways. He's a top 5 machine with Penske. So we'll see what happens this week, and that's why I took a risk on him.
And at 50-1, you got Busch, Jones, and Almirola, and you got this thing about putting in a couple of bucks each week now on Eric Jones.
Yeah, I just don't know. He's just always 50-1. You can always get your money back with him, and he just seems to always be there. It just seems like he's always up front for a while. So there's no other reason why. Yep, that's exactly why.
Cindric is 70-1. So is Dylan. Buescher, Suarez 80-1. You put a couple of bucks on Suarez, and Buescher's actually not a bad play either, because he's starting to pick things up a little bit. But yep. Suarez. I'd like to see a top 10 out of Suarez, though. It's another top 10, I think, to get his momentum going again.
Yeah, I would too. And this just seems like that week that you'd see like if a fluke winner is going to happen. Suarez just the 99 card just sitting there just came to my mind again for getting him way down on those odds again when his teammate has been running well, but he's got the same equipment. Like it's a no-brainer for him being. If he was like 25-1 or 30-1, probably not. But for where he's at, definitely worth the risk on Suarez this week.
And you said, hey, why don't I just put a buck on AJ Allmendinger? He's 150-1. If he wins the race, I make money this week. He's got 7 top 10s, 2 top 5s, and 21 races at Martinsville. And he was runner-up in one of the races in 2016. I'm surprised he's 150-1. I thought he was way over his odds were way over the top last week. I think it was like 25-1 or something.
Yeah.
Now it's been corrected just way too much to 150.
Yeah, and he's good there in Xfinity Series. I'm like, why not for 150-1 for AJ? I mean, it's been a crazy season. What if a Collie Cars won Martinsville? So, yeah, that's why 150-1. A $1 gets you $150. So
why not, right?
It's a nice return of $9. It's 4 quarters.
He's not going to stay at 150-1. That's not going to happen.
especially after qualifying. He qualifies good there. It's not going to stay there for long.
No.
So
it'll probably be 50-1 by race time.
Probably.
I would think.
Could be.
Yeah.
He's a good live bet one guy, too, you probably want to watch.
All right, so racereviewonline.net. Check it out. And in case you missed it, we have our race recap of Richmond. That's already posted up on the website. And that's our posting strategy every week. We'll have our race recaps on Tuesday. Our race previews will be posted on Wednesdays. But check out racereviewonline.net for all of the information on the NASCAR races. A little bit. You talk a little bit Xfinity too, Eric?
Yep. A little bit of that too. Yep, on race weekends. Yep.
And then, of course, the IndyCar Series as well. So, Eric, appreciate it. Next week is what?
Bristol Dirt.
Oh, Bristol Dirt. Yeah.
Yep.
I love how they promoted the Bristol race to go. What was it? The last great Coliseum. Yeah, you bozos. We know that. That's why you shouldn't put dirt in the freaking in the damn arena. And then we get screwed over another Bristol race. So
yeah, you would never know with all the promos. Did you know that there was a race at Martinsville this weekend? Because they kind of negated that.
Yeah, right.
Bristol Dirt, Easter night. Like, there's a race before that. You forgot that. Yeah. We'll see what those odds are, but ratings are. But yeah.
All right, Eric. We'll talk to you next time. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you.